My first Easter DIY project this year was making a carrot car. I decided to use a styrofoam foam cone. The one that I'm using is 9 inches, but they offer a variety of different sizes, so you could make one as little or as big as you want. I wanted to use styrofoam because I knew that it would be really easy to just take an ice cream scooper and carve out 2 seats inside of the cone. Next, I want to make the carrot car orange, so I took some orange felt and I just covered the cone with a glue gun. It was a little bit difficult to figure out how to cover this odd shape, but I just made it up as I went along. And I just took a regular sheet of some green felt. It was like 33 cents at Joann's. I just folded it kind of like a napkin. It doesn't need to be perfect or uniform. It's just the sprout top of a carrot. And I just took some sewing pins. That's what I love about using foam to make projects, is you can attach things with sewing pins most of the time and skate by without having to plug in the glue gun. Then it was time to decide what we were going to use for the wheels. And I just so happened to find one of these wood DIY craft kits at the dollar store that was for a race car. It came with 4 wood wheels for that particular project. So I just stole those wheels from that kit and painted them black with this really fancy professional painting technique. I'm sure you've probably heard of it. It's called Just Get It Done. Originally, I was going to use these for all 4 of the wheels, but then I decided these are only going to work for the front. For the back wheels, I really need them to be bigger. So I went and took a dollar store motorcycle toy and I just removed 2 wheels from that motorcycle, and then I went ahead and took a paper straw and I used that as an axis to glue between the 2 wheels. So I just cut it and then I painted that black and glued it in between the 2 wheels. In hindsight, I probably should not have used a straw because it was a little too flimsy and was somewhat difficult to attach to the wheels because, it just didn't have any weight to it. But in the end, it was good enough. And I just attached the wheels in the front and the rear with my glue gun. So I started to test out the different toys that were going to ride in the car, and immediately I noticed one bunny in particular that was fitting so perfectly. So I knew she was going to be the permanent driver, and we were going to put her in the front. Do you recognize her? Do you remember the movie Bambi? Bambi's best friend, Thumper? Well, this is Miss Bunny, Thumper's love interest. There's your pop culture lesson for the day. Anyway, here I was with Miss Bunny in the front, and I was changing out the back seat passengers to see who would be a good match for her to ride in the car. It was then that I had the epiphany. I was changing out the passengers because they are passengers. Because this isn't a carrot car, it's a carrot cab. And now I can make a little sign. It's like a taxi and put it on the side, and that's going to give us that little oomph that we need to kind of give it some pizzazz. I could have easily made the sign with a regular piece of paper, but I chose to use a white piece of ribbon instead. Then I took a bunch of letter stickers, put those on top, and then found a miniature checkered border that I printed off of my computer and glued that above and below the text. Then I glued that on the side of the car with 2 carrot stickers on each side. I felt like that addition took it from plain to unique really easily in a matter of minutes. Isn't she so cute? Next, I wanted to make a hip-hop bunny as a prop for one of my next decorating displays. So I took this stuffed animal bunny that I got from the Dollar Tree. He's not my favorite, but he's a good size and he was only $1. Then I'm going to take a sock. I save all the socks that are missing their partner and save them for scrap projects like this. First, I just cut off the top. Cut at an angle on both sides to create a hole for each of his ears to fit through. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what's going on with this bunny's face, but there's something about it that I don't like. I think it's his eyes. I just can't look at them. I'm putting some doll glasses on him, and I also am taking a necklace, and I'm just going to put that around his neck twice, and then we're going to set him aside because we're going to work on our signs that are going to go with him in display. You'll see me do this a lot. It's one of my signature moves. I love to create my own signs, and I like to do that with dollar store picture frames and letter stickers. Though I do this a lot, I don't typically do it the same way twice, excluding the first step, of course, which is always the same, where I either remove the pre-existing picture that comes with the frame or simply just replace it with a plain sheet of photo paper, which just creates an empty canvas for me to create whatever sign that I want. I usually try to do something more unique or interesting with my signs, but I kept it really low-key this year, and I didn't do anything particularly interesting or creative other than alternate between a variety of different styles of letter stickers. All of these are from the Dollar Tree. I always try to keep my eye open to see if they get any new ones in different colors or designs, and just pick them up whenever I happen to be there. Here I'm just creating somewhat of a 3D block letter look with these two different colors. For me, no holiday is complete without at least a mini holiday themed tree. Halfway through my Easter decorating, I got really sick for like 2 weeks. I came back to the scene to figure out where I was going to pick up the rest of my DIY projects. I just didn't really have it. My tree really was not my favorite. I wasn't even going to add it in here, but then my family loved the Easter tree. I decided to include it because maybe they know better than me. I don't know. I really didn't want to decorate my little tree with eggs, so I came up with an idea of taking these little tin pails. You can find these in the wedding section at the dollar store. And I just took my glue gun and took a feather boa from the kids' toy section. It's a little skinny and definitely not as full as a regular boa, but that's exactly what I wanted. I just glued that right around the brim of the pail. It was still a little bit bushier and bigger than I wanted, but that's all right. I just filled the pails up with some felt so that I could set these little chicks on top. And they did have these at the dollar store at one point, but mine sold out, so I actually had to get these at Hobby Lobby, but they were relatively inexpensive. Then I just glued those on top of the felt. The idea here was to create mini Easter baskets with mama and baby chicks inside of them, and then use these as ornaments and hang them on the tree with a pail top handle. I alternated between the mama chicks and the baby chicks, and each basket was a little bit different. But once I went to hang them on the tree, they just felt like they were missing something or needed something extra. So I added some styrofoam Easter eggs, but that still was not doing it. It was not enough. So I went and got some bows and flowers and grabbed some little sticky dots to attach them to the front of all the little Easter baskets. These stickies were good for nothing, and this is literally the only one that actually stayed. All the other ones fell off, and I had to go plug in my glue gun and glue them to the front. Even that just was not doing it for me. It felt naked, empty, and I started to think about a bunch of things that I wanted to do, but I quickly stopped myself because I was still recovering from being sick and I didn't want to overextend myself. I made the conscious effort to simplify the project by adding nothing more than these little styrofoam berries. I actually have no idea what the formal name for them is. That's just the name that I gave them. I got them from the dollar store a few years ago. This ended up being a fair compromise because I didn't want to add anything that would make the tree too busy or distract too much attention away from the baby and mama chicks because I wanted them to be the main focal point. So this was working to some extent. And for the tree topper, I just used 2 bows and a bunny from the dollar store. Even though I was feeling really sick this year and I was not feeling up to Easter, I decided nothing is going to stop me from at least carrying out my traditional snacks. So the first must-have tradition for me is Cadbury eggs. My favorite chocolate, period, the end. And not the cream-filled ones, just the regular dark chocolate ones. You can only put a small amount out because otherwise I will eat them all. Number 2, we have to have peanut M&Ms for whatever holiday it is. And in this case, I went ahead and used these dollar store candy dispensers that I found. Then I wanted to give them a little more pizzazz, so I just painted the outside detailing that it had on them. It actually had all of these little grooves that were, in my opinion, just waiting to be painted. And because I'm not like a hand painter, I like to use nail polish to paint little things like this because it dries really fast if you use the instant dry, or you can get these little skinny ones from the dollar store, and the brush is so tiny that it's a lot easier to paint something small and get in the crevices. The third thing is we have to have Annie's. She happens to have a bunny mascot for all of her products, so we have to get her cheddar bunnies. And then we have to get her bunny fruit snacks. And lastly, we have to do something with Rice Krispie treats because Rice Krispie treats are made with marshmallows. And what is one of the biggest staples of all time for Easter? Peeps, marshmallows. So we gotta do something with the Peeps. In case you are not aware that these exist, I wanted to show them to you. They are a pink and blue swirl vanilla chip. And the great thing about them is that when they melt, they actually create this really beautiful purple that just gives me all the Easter feels. I top them off with some pastel sprinkles, make them easy access to take on the go. The vanilla flavor is super mild. It doesn't make them taste overly sugary at all. Also, they make for a really colorful and bright table decoration in the meantime until they're all eaten. So I encourage you to try them at least once.